of justice. Open the gates for me. Open the gates of righteousness. Equally. Open the gates of freedom. Now the blood of united for. Equally. Assurance and an Avora. Holy on. Equally. Assurance and an Avora. Holy on. Lock up the gates of hatred. Throw away the key. Open the gates of justice. Equally. Open the gates of tomorrow. Yes, travel so far. Equally. Assurance and then Avora. Holding on. Equally. Assurance and then Avora. Holding on. Every mama suamoni. I thought it was bizarre. Every mama suamoni. I thought it was bizarre. We're all in this together. Oh, we got to keep on going. To the stone that the builders rejected, it becomes the chief cornerstone. To the stone that the builders rejected, becomes the chief cornerstone. Open the gates of justice. Open the gates for me. Open the gates of righteousness. Equally. Open the gates of tomorrow. Yes, we travel so far. Equally. Assurance and an Avora. Holding on. 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 Open the gates of justice. Open the gates for me. Open the gates of the
Can I test my mic
Testing,
also?
testing, testing.
Open the gates of justice. Open the gates for me. Open the gates of righteousness. Equally. cornerstone. Till the stone that the builders rejected becomes the chief cornerstone. Open the gates of justice. Open the gates for me. Open the gates of righteousness. Be who we. Open the gates of tomorrow. Yes, we travel so far. Be who we. Shattered said and I will walk. Oh, they are. Be who we. Shattered said and I will walk. Oh, they are. Be who we. Shattered said and I will walk. Oh, they are. Be who we. Shattered said and I will walk. Oh, they are. Open the gates of justice. Open the gates for me. Open the gates of righteousness. Be truly. Open the gates of freedom. Tell me what are you waiting for? Be truly. Assurance said and I will walk. Oh, they are. Be truly. Assurance said and I will walk. Oh, they are. Lock up the gates of hatred. Throw away the key. Open the gates of justice. Be truly. Open the gates of tomorrow. Yes, travel oh so far. Be truly. Assurance said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Be truly. Assurance said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Every mile I sue, I'm a king. I thought it was bizarre. Every mile I sue, I'm a king. I thought it was bizarre. We're all in this together, oh, we got to keep on going. Till the stone that the builders rejected becomes the chief cornerstone. Till the stone that the builders rejected becomes the chief cornerstone. Open the gates of justice. Open the gates for me. Open the gates of righteousness. Be who we. Open the gates of tomorrow. Yes, we travel so far. Be who we. Assurance said and I will walk. Oh, they are. Be who we. Assurance said and I will walk. Oh, they are. Be who we. Assurance said and I will walk. Oh, they are. Be who we. Assurance said and I will walk. Oh, they are. Open the gates of justice. Open the gates for me. Open the gates of righteousness. Be truly. Open the gates of freedom. Tell me what are you waiting for? Be truly. Assurance said and I will walk. Oh, they are. Be truly. Assurance said and I will walk. Oh, they are. Lock up the gates of hatred. Throw away the key. Open the gates of justice. Be truly. Open the gates of tomorrow. Yes, we travel oh so far. Be truly. Assurance said that I will walk. Oh, they cornerstone. Till the stone that the builders rejected becomes the chief cornerstone. Open the gates of justice. Open the gates for peace. Open the gates of righteousness. These who believe. Open the gates of tomorrow. Yes, we travel so far. We who believe. Charlotte said that. comes the chief cornerstone. Open the gates of justice. Open the gates for me. Open the gates of righteousness. Be who lead. Open the gates of tomorrow. Yes, we got the road so far. Be who lead. Shattered said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Be who lead. Shattered said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Be who lead. Shattered said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Be who lead. Shattered said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Open the gates of justice. Open the gates for me. Open the gates of righteousness. Be who lead. Open the gates of freedom. Tell me what are we waiting for? Be who lead. Assurance said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Be who lead. Assurance said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Lock up the gates of hatred. Throw away the key. Open the gates of justice. Be who lead. Open the gates of tomorrow. Yes, travel oh so far. Be who lead. Assurance said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Be who lead. Assurance said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Every mile to harmony. I thought it was bizarre. Every mile to harmony. I thought it was bizarre. We're all in this together. Oh, we got to keep on going. To the stone that the builders rejected becomes the chief cornerstone. To the stone that the builders rejected becomes the chief cornerstone. Open the gates of justice. Open the gates for me. Open the gates of righteousness. Be who lead. Open the gates of tomorrow. Yes, we got the road so far. Be who lead. Shattered said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Be who lead. Shattered said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Be who lead. Shattered said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Be who lead. Shattered said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Open the gates of justice. Open the gates for me. Open the gates of righteousness. Be who lead. Open the gates of freedom. Tell me what are we waiting for? Be who lead. Assurance said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Be who lead. Assurance said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Lock up the gates of hatred. Throw away the key. Open the gates of justice. Be who lead. Open the gates of tomorrow. Yes, so far. Be who lead. Assurance said that I will walk. Oh, they are. Be who lead. Assurance said that I will walk. That's all the Rosh Hashanah. We're all in this together, oh, we got to keep on going. Till the stone that the builders rejected becomes the chief cornerstone. Till the stone that the builders rejected becomes the chief cornerstone. Open the gates of justice. Open the gates for me. Open the gates of righteousness. Believe. Open the gates of tomorrow. Yes, we got the road so far. Believe. Sharon said that I'm along. Oh, they are. Believe. Sharon said that I'm along. Oh, they are. Believe. Sharon said that I'm along. Oh, they are. Believe. Sharon said that I'm along. Oh, they are. Open the gates of justice. Open the gates for me. Open the gates of righteousness. Believe. Open the gates of freedom. Nothing better we waiting for. Believe. Sharon said that I'm along. Oh, they are. Believe. Sharon said that.
Shana Tova and Happy New Year 5781. We are Congregation Beth HaTikva in Summit, New Jersey, and we're delighted to have you join us. If you are a locally based member and opted in, you received a High Holiday home kit containing special symbols of the holiday, along with a Machzor and a booklet. All attendees can also download a PDF of our Machzor by going to our website, bethatikva.org, and selecting High Holiday Information page. If you're joining services through our YouTube channel, please sit back and enjoy the service. If you're joining through a Zoom link, remember that this is a personalized link for this service, and you'll receive separate emails for the other services, approximately 1 hour before each service. Also, all participant audio will be muted until the end of the service. You can chat with individual participants or all participants through the chat window. Just make sure you select the correct recipient. In your Zoom app or program, you'll find the option to switch between active speaker and gallery view. We recommend selecting active speaker view to better experience the service here at CBH. Also, during the service, the rabbi will invite you to stand at times when you would have done so in the sanctuary, if you are able and wish to do so. We invite you and your family to join us for candle lighting, Kiddush, and the blessings over the challah and apples and honey. Thank you for sharing your holidays with us, and our service begins now.
Yeah.
Shana Tova. May this new year be a good year for all of us. Jewish time binds us together. When we did not have a homeland, when we were exiled and dispersed, when we were expelled from places where we had hoped to belong, we were held together as a people by shared time. It's remarkable when you think about it. People scattered all over the world continued to organize their lives around the weekly rhythm of Shabbat and the monthly rhythm of the moon. With no temple and no place to bring offerings, Jews continued to observe the three pilgrimage holidays of Sukkot, Pesach, and Shavuot. We adapted, reconstructed, even transformed, but we did not abandon our connection to Jewish time. Whether or not you attend services on Shabbat, whether or not you build a sukkah or eat dairy for Shavuot, or clear out all of the chametz on Pesach, your presence here on Zoom, celebrating a new year, means that you are still connected to Jewish time. When I think about all that the Jewish people have endured for thousands of years and still kept our connection to Jewish traditions, it is clear that a global pandemic cannot stop us. Even in a time of pandemic, even when we are not able to gather in person in our sanctuary, Jewish time still binds us together. Whether we are on Zoom, whether we are physically distanced, nothing can prevent us from feeling the bonds that connect us. Despite the challenges this year, it is good to pause and notice that we are bound together. All over the world tonight, Jews are gathering to celebrate a new year with new possibilities, new opportunities, and renewed vision. So let us all reach out our virtual arms and open our hearts and minds and celebrate the connections that we have been able to maintain over thousands of years. Connections that transcend everything that separates us. Usually on the Erev Rosh Hashannah, I ask people to turn to someone near them, preferably someone that you don't know, and wish them Shana Tova and perhaps a sweet New Year greeting. We can't do that this year, but we can send messages in chat. And as Andy sings Light These Lights on page 14 in our booklet, please take a moment to send a message to everyone who's here with us tonight. Whatever wishes you have for our community and for all of the members of our community and all of our friends and loved ones who have joined with us on Zoom tonight. And then you can scroll up and down to see the messages that others are sending. And in this way, we can share with everyone our wishes for the coming year.
To the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen.
In a moment, we will be lighting the holiday candles and the Shabbat candles. Everyone got candles in your boxes, and if you wish to, please get ready to light the candles with us. In the story of Noah's Ark, Noah sends out a dove to see if the waters of the flood have receded. According to tradition, the dove returned to Noah with an olive leaf on Rosh Hashannah. While the olive is bitter, its oil carries sweetness and brings light to dark places. May this Rosh Hashanah inspire us to extract the sweet from the bitter, to bring light to the darkness, and together to create the world anew. Please join me in lighting the candles, and the blessing is on page 28 in our Machzor prayer book.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, shel Shabbat v'yom tov. And we'll still be on page 28 when we go to the video of the singers singing Shehechianu.
Please turn to page 14 in your High Holiday booklet. We will sing along with the singers, Sing Unto God.
So luckily we're able to listen to that here. Whoa, except I'm getting some feedback. All right, Mike, thanks. Whoa. All right, so we got to have a little something go wrong, otherwise we wouldn't be CBH. So usually at this time in the service, either me or Andy or Myra will stand and say, the reason we're here as singers is to inspire you to sing with us. And that's as much, if not more, the case now than it is before. So wherever you are, I really hope that you're getting into it, that you're making some noise, that you're moving around. At this point, we're on page 58. We're going to do a Hatzi Kaddish. There's going to be 5 different Hatzi Kaddish melodies. As I've said before, there's different melodies, different nusach, and in the same way you'll wear something different to a wedding or to a birthday or to a funeral. Jewish tradition clothes the different prayers with different melodies for the season. And so this particular nusach is only heard on evening services during the high holidays. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah bi'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael bagala uvizman kariv v'yimeru amen amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam U'Olamei Alamaya Yitbarach Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitale V'yithalal Shemei L'Kudashah Berichu le'ela le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'yalema v'imru amen amen.
And we now turn to the Baruch Hu, and we start out with something that I hope you can sing along with. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayers? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yalla lai, yalla lai lai 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 lai.
Each year, Congregation Beth HaTikva has a unifying theme. And this year, our theme is Hineni, which means, here I am. Ever since we picked this theme, I've been paying more attention to the word call. If Hineni is here I am, in the Hebrew Bible, it always comes as the answer to a call. The Baruch Hu is our call to prayer, and we recite it in the form of a call and response. The leader calls, and we, the congregation, respond. But usually when we recite Baruch Hu in our services, it's fairly rote, and the response is automatic. We're not really thinking about it. So a rabbi named Louis Reiser suggests that we slow it down and pause before we respond. Perhaps tonight we could pause long enough to think of one instance of kindness or goodness in our lives. And then we can respond to the call confirming that we are prepared wholeheartedly to be present as we begin to pray. This is going to be a little bit harder on Zoom, but I decided I wanted to try it. So bear with us. Steve will call to us the Baruch Hu, and then we will pause and try to think of something good, some act of kindness in your life, or whatever you need to do to be present. And then we will all respond together with Andy leading us, the words, Hineni, here I am, and then the response to the Baruch Hu, which is on page 62. So here we go.
Oh, sorry. That's the wrong Baruch Hu. Let me see. Uh-oh. Oh, that is the right
That's
Baruch
the right
Hu.
one.
There's a lot of melodies. I'm dressed in the right clothes, but I'm forgetting the melodic clothes. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Hineni, here I am. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
Yalalai lai lai, 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 yalalai lai lai.
And we turn to page 66 for the Chatima of this blessing, El Chai V'Kayam. El Chai V'Kayam, Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed. Yai la rai 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 rai, yai la rai 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 rai, rai rai la rai rai rai, yai rai 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 rai, yai rai rai yai la rai rai. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. Amen.
One thing that we knew we would have to include, even if our services were online, was our beautiful teen string players. They will now play for us Ahavat Olam. We now turn to page 15 in our booklets. This is the Open Up Our Eyes version of Shema at the top of the page.
So now, please turn to page 88. We'll begin at the very bottom line, Umalchuto, it's not transliterated, and then we move on to the Michamocha on the following page. Umalchuto ratzon kiblu alehem Moshe uMiriam uVnei Yisrael lechanu shira b'simcha rabba v'amru chulam Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai Mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh Norat hilot osef eleh Malchutecha ra'u banecha Bokeh hayam lifnei Moshe Ze Eli anu v'amru Adonai imloch leolam va'ed V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov Ugalo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch ata Adonai Baruch hu v'rosh shemo Gal Yisrael Amen.
Tonight we enter the days of awe, our season of teshuvah, of returning to our best and truest selves. Please join in singing Return Again on page 16 in your High Holiday booklet. Hashkivenu is our prayer for protection and safety, something that we all need right now. We sing the first line, which is in Hebrew on page 92 and in transliteration on page 94. And then we continue with Everything's Gonna Be All Right.
Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Everything's gonna be all right. 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 Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Everything's gonna be all right. 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 Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim.
And we continue at the bottom of the page with Ufros Aleinu in the High Holiday Nusach. Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shalomecha, Baruch Ata Adonai HaPores, Sukat Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Hamo Yisrael, V'al Yerushalayim. Amen.
It's a strange experience being here in the empty sanctuary with lots of equipment and a few people scattered around. And I have to say that reading the greetings from everyone in chat is really helping to feel connected. So I just want to encourage you to keep those coming. If you haven't written yet, feel free. And if you have written yet, write something else. It's just a nice way for us to all be connected. Tonight is not only the beginning of Rosh Hashannah, it is also Shabbat. And at CBH, we particularly love to sing V'Shamru. So please turn to page 96, and you're at home, so you can jump up and down, dance around, sing and shout, and get in the joyful spirit of Shabbat and a brand new year.
So please turn to page 98 for announcing Rosh Hashannah. תיקעו בחודש שופר, בכסל יום חגנו, כי חוק לישראל הוא משפט לאלוהי יעקב. And where do we go from here?
To me.
Ah!
You ready for me? This year, the paths that we thought we were traveling on ended abruptly. It was a bit like falling off a cliff or bumping into a brick wall. We have been required to reconsider everything about our lives. At times, for me, and I imagine for many of you, it has been difficult to keep things in perspective. As we enter a new year, it seems important to consider how we are going to respond to everything that has happened. A poem called Perspective by Rabbi Karen Kadar may be helpful as we search for new paths, new ways of living and relating and growing in the coming year. As you travel a path toward a goal you dream worthy and essential, and you suddenly hit a wall, what you do next depends on your perspective. The wall is a challenge and you climb it. The wall is a failure and you dig a hole under it to crawl beneath. The wall is an obstacle and you bang your head. Or upon the wall, there's a sign which beckons you to detour. You turn your head sharply to the left and you go another way. Perspective is the eyesight of your mind. It is how you choose to look at the world, events, and possibilities. I have seen lives transformed when people make the choice to see things in a different way. We turn to page 104, and if you wish, rise for the Amidah. After Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, we'll take a moment for silent reflection, either to read the words in the prayer book beginning on page 103 or for personal reflection.
Be
When we began thinking about doing high holiday services online, we wondered what would be most important to include. Over the summer, when I happened to speak to someone on the phone or sometimes at Zoom meetings, I asked, what are 3 things that if you didn't have, it would not feel like high holidays? I was pretty sure that shofar would make the cut, as well as Avinu Malkeinu and Unatana Tokef. Everyone loves the singers, of course, though singing on Zoom is challenging, and Andy has risen to that challenge along with the rest of the singers. I wasn't so sure about sermons, because sitting and listening to someone talk on Zoom is not always the most exciting thing. So some people suggested that I spice it up a little, and that I might reprise my role as the rappin' rabbi. For those of you who are not around a few years ago and missed my Hamilton obsession, suffice it to say that there was a time when a high holiday sermon included a rap song. During this pandemic, we surely need some levity. But the problem was I had moved on from my Hamilton phase. Even when Disney Plus came out with the movie version of Hamilton, and Bella offered to let us use her Disney Plus account to watch it, I was not particularly interested. After all, thanks to the generosity of CBH members, Don and I saw Hamilton live on Broadway. So why would we need to see it on the small screen? And our TV was too old to get Disney Plus, so we had to watch it on a really small screen. So really, why bother? Then Bella invited us to watch it with her, though in different cities, and discuss it. It would be a social event, the pandemic version of going out to the movies together. Fast forward, and let me say that the film reignited my passion for Hamilton. And like all great art, it turned out that Hamilton touched me in a different way watching it in 2020. I had always loved the refrain in Hamilton, "The world turned upside down," a reference in the musical to the American Revolution. But hearing it again in 2020, it took on a whole new meaning. This year, our world has indeed turned upside down. Just about every aspect of life as we knew it has been turned on its head. Just to give one small example, I was driving past 7-Eleven one day, and a man with a bandana walked out of the store. And instead of thinking that he was robbing the store, I thought approvingly that he was concerned for his own safety and the safety of others. The world turned upside down.
Wait. No. Give us a moment. The world turned upside down. Close.
Yeah.
One more time. The world turned upside down. You're getting it.
No.
Oh, whoops. Back to you.
It sounded good in my mind. Once I started thinking about how our world turned upside down, I remembered that the first thing we canceled back in March was the Purim Spiel, which was not only sad for the excuse me, which was not only sad for the performers and everyone who worked on it, but also for all of us who look forward to being entertained by them every year. But looking back, it now seems appropriate that Purim was the first casualty of the pandemic. The whole Purim story is about a world turned upside down. Those on top are brought down, those below are raised up. The Jews are supposed to be killed, but end up victorious. Haman is supposed to be rewarded, but ends up being punished instead. This year, Purim was canceled, and that was painful. But Purim reminds us that sometimes it's a good thing when the world is turned upside down. We were reminded of that again during the protests after George Floyd was killed. Suddenly, the idea that we could not go on living life as we knew it became completely clear to people all over the country and all over the world. We saw that those who had been kneeling on the necks of Black people for centuries would have to be brought down so all people could stand up. We saw that statues high above our heads that glorified the idea that some people are superior and deserve to be on top would have to come down.
The world turned upside down. The world turned upside down.
Sometimes when the world turns upside down, it provides opportunities to bring people together. I read this summer that a majority of both Jewish and Arab Israelis believe that Jewish-Arab relations have improved since the pandemic. Arab Israelis received an outpouring of gratitude for being on the front lines in fighting the virus, representing 30% of staff in Israeli hospitals. And at the same time, many Arab Israelis saw IDF soldiers in a positive light for the first time as they delivered food packages to families during lockdown. Israel and the Palestinian Authority rarely work together, and relations are strained. But during the pandemic, they have collaborated to train Palestinian medical staff and provide ventilators for Palestinian hospitals. And the world turned upside down.
The world turned upside down. The world turned upside down.
One of the recurring refrains in Hamilton is how lucky we are to be alive right now. I'm sure many people did not feel that way at the time. The American Revolution was scary. People were dying. The army was short on food and supplies and weapons. It was anything but certain that George Washington and his ragtag militia could defeat the British Empire. No one knew what would happen. We too are living in scary, uncertain times. People are sick and dying, hungry and out of work. We are fighting an invisible enemy armed only with masks and hand sanitizer. We too do not know what is going to happen. But I wonder, as difficult and frightening and heartbreaking as this time is, I wonder if we too might feel how lucky we are to be alive right now. During the first part of the shutdown, we were reading the book of Numbers in the yearly cycle of Torah readings. In Hebrew, it is called Bamidbar, in the wilderness. And I could definitely relate to that experience of the Israelites, wandering, not knowing where they were going or when they would get there. But then it struck me that it was in the wilderness that something brand new was created. A concept of God and a set of laws and ethical principles that have had an enormous impact on our world. A ragtag band of former slaves left behind everything they knew and freed not only their bodies, but their minds and their spirits. And in the process, they changed the world. I'm not the only one making the connection between our current situation and the wilderness experience of the Israelites. Rabbi Cindy Enger writes that the wilderness is a place of revelation and transformation. In the wilderness, we experience profound dislocation. There is no paved path to guide us. We must chart a new path forward to a way of being that is still unknown. She continues, wilderness is a state of being, something existential as well as geographic. The coronavirus pandemic has brought us into a different kind of wilderness. We don't know how long we will sojourn here or what life will be like after. This is a time of uncertainty and paradox, separation and physical distancing, as well as moments of deep and real connection. To navigate this uncharted terrain, we find that new skills and partnerships are needed. Passions that have lain dormant now awaken our imagination, inviting action. The wilderness teaches that life is fragile and precious. Our deepest longings ask for our commitment to birth them into fruition. Rabbi Enger also believes that in the wilderness, we learn the truth of our interconnectedness. In this reality, there is healing and hope. We are in this wilderness together, and the wilderness is the way home.
The world turned upside down. The world turned upside down.
This year has forced us out of our comfort zones. It has taken away our familiar routines and stopped us in our tracks. No one asked our opinion. We had no choice about what happened to us, but we always have a choice about how to respond. We can look back longingly at the lives we had before, or we can search for the possibilities and opportunities in a world turned upside down. What can we learn? What can we teach? How can we transform our lives and our society, our relationships, our communities? How can we remember, even after this is over, that our interconnectedness leads us to healing and hope? A poem by Leslie Dwight expresses the power of this moment. What if 2020 isn't canceled? What if 2020 is the year we've been waiting for? A year so uncomfortable, so painful, so scary, so raw, that it finally forces us to grow. A year that screams so loud, finally awakening us from our ignorant slumber. A year we finally accept the need for change. Declare change, work for change, become change. A year we finally band together instead of pushing each other further apart. 2020 is not canceled, but rather the most important year of all. Something new will be born from this experience. It's up to us to determine what that will be. I rediscovered my love for the musical Hamilton because it reminds us that a better future can be created from a past filled with injustice and violence, pain and loss. Suffering and discomfort and disruption. For all the suffering and discomfort and disruption the pandemic has caused, let's make sure something good comes out of it. It really is up to us. We now offer a prayer for healing. If there are people in your life who are in need of physical, emotional, or spiritual healing, please put their names in chat. The Mishabach prayer is on page 16 in the booklet, the third song down, and I invite you to write the names in chat as we sing. pray for a refuah shlema, a complete healing of body and of spirit for the people whose names are in the chat, as well as all of those who are in need of healing throughout the world. We turn to page 1202 for Elenu. We begin with the first paragraph on 1202 and continue on pages 1204 and 1206. The singers will be doing the beautiful Ein Ode version. And if you wish and are able to, please rise.
The season of healing. This is the season of healing our hearts and souls, of healing the moments we share with each other and the moments we share with ourselves. This is the season of memory, of remembering our parents and grandparents, the love of generations, the holiness of our ancestors. This is the season of stillness, the season of silence and quiet, of deep breaths, of open eyes, of compassion and consolation. This is the season of healing, the season of grief turning to wonder, of loss turning toward hope, the season that binds this year to the next, the season that heralds the redemption of spirit and our return to God's holy word.
As our thoughts turn to those of our loved ones who've died, just want to say that just heard that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, and she was a powerful, intelligent, and passionate Jewish woman, and her loss is a loss for our world. If you wish, as your loved one's name is read, please rise. We extend our condolences to Steve Kaflowitz on the death of his brother Alan. In the period of Shloshim, we remember Suzanne Moskowitz, mother of Don Moskowitz. In the first year of mourning, we remember Joan Rowland, mother of Ed and Steve, Alan Lipnick, father of Adam, Barbara Louise Parmigiani, mother of Kara, Rita Gavsey, mother of Debbie Needleman, Margaret Veronica Dlug, grandmother of Olivia Cohen, Leslie Skillman Hull, wife of Rick, mother of Sophia, Daniel Braun, husband of Regina, Fred Myers, father of Marty, Larry Killian, father of Caitlin, Joan Stern, mother of Tricia, Ann Lipman, mother of Elizabeth Freeman, Jonathan Koselleck, son of Terry and Paul, brother of Dan, Elsa Myers, mother of Dan, Dolly Richman, mother of Susan Myers, John Bozick, husband of Debbie Feynman, and Bob Max. Our yahrzeits on this Shabbat are Manrong Wu, mother of Zoshel Liu Emanuel, Maura Silberman, father of Harry, Elizabeth Fox, grandmother of Lisa Tonyola, Rudolph Morris Singer Jr., father of Mary Welliver, Leon Minzer, father of Steve, Jacob Harry Rosenblum, father of Arlene Saldati, Esther Dykesell, grandmother of Debbie and Michael Feynman, R. Sidney Rowland, father of Ed, and Janice Shumo, sister-in-law of Ellie. If you wish, please rise for the mourner's Kaddish. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayachon v'yamachon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mavarach le'alam olamei almaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei d'kudisha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom bimramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for blessing. You may be seated.
Hello, I'm Margie Tickner, and I'm president of Congregation Beth HaTikvah. I'm so happy that you have joined us this evening. You have no idea the amount of time, effort, and planning that went into pulling this off tonight and over the next several days. It really does take a village. I must take a moment to thank the tech crew. You know who you are, because without you, this would not have happened. I'm amazed as I sit here and watch this. I'm sad that we are not all together at CBH, but it feels the best that we can have right now. The beauty of the service makes us feel connected. One of the challenges of planning was zoomed in front of a computer screen for work, cocktail hours with friends, whatever it may be. So we could not plan high holidays at the length of service that we are used to in our building. So services certainly do look different this year in many different ways. For service, join each person looking for service that on. We had to split the services up into little bits and pieces at the website to get more information about it. And if you don't feel comfortable, to CBH live tomorrow for the shofar service, you can also hear more of the shofar Sunday. I wish everyone a new year, and I look forward to seeing you all on Zoom and hopefully in person over the next few days and on into Yom Kippur. Thank you.
Thank you, Margie. Margie's at home, but we have you with us. And we now are going to sing a CBH favorite in this house, which I think of as the CBH anthem. So please join in at home with the wonderful CBH singers, and it's on page 17 in your booklet.
In this house, it all comes together in this house. In this house, in this house, it all comes together in this house of In this house beats the heart of a family. In this house is the center of community. We study and we pray, our community shake. In this house, in this house, in this house. In this house is part of God's creation. In this house there is joy and celebration. By song or by word, our prayers will be heard. In this house, in this house, in this house. In this house, in this house, it all comes together in this house. In this house, in this house, it all comes together in this house. In this house, we can shelter, we can clothe. In this house, there is always help for those in need. A stranger makes a friend, becomes inspiring. In this house, in this house, in this house. In this house, in this house, it all comes together in this house. In this house, in this house, it all comes together in this house of study. In this house, a house of prayer. In this house, a house of gathering. In this house, of everywhere. In this house, a lovely in this valley place of Jacob. In this house, blessing on blessing will be all. In this house.
So if you pick up your machzrim again, your prayer books, we're going all the way near the end to page 1198. I'll pause for a minute while you get there. Okay, let's just say you're there. Savarei Chavarai, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kra'anu la'avodato v'romemanu b'kedushato v'kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'titen lanu Adonai Eloheinu b'ahava et yom hashabbat hazeh ve'et yom hazikaron hazeh yom zikaron teruah be'ahava mikra kodesh zecher zecher letziat mitzrayim ki eleinu karata ve'otanu kidashta la'avodatecha. One more time. Ki eleinu karata ve'otanu kidashta la'avodatecha udvarecha emet v'kayam la'ad baruch atah Adonai melech ha'koharetz mekadesh ha'shabbat ve'yis. Oh, my bad. Melech ha'koharetz mekadesh ha'shabbat ve'yisrael. One more time. Melech ha'koharetz mekadesh ha'shabbat ve'yisrael. Melech ha'koharetz mekadesh ha'shabbat ve'yisrael ve'yom hazikaron. Amen. L'chaim.
And Steve, you haven't even had the wine yet, and you're.
No, I know. This is grape juice, as it turns out.
Okay. Oh, you want me to stay?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. And we're panning to the table. There we go. And we're cutting me out of the picture.
Can you hear me from here?
Cutting me out of the picture. There we go.
Okay, so we have one more blessing for the apples and honey. And in your wonderful high holiday boxes, there are honey sticks and apple chips. So you all have something, unless you ate them already. Some people did. Won't mention any names. You should have something to say this blessing on. And the blessing, after the blessing actually, turn to page 18. We will end our service with Hashannah Tovah with the singers. There was a little bit of trouble hearing Margie, so just in case you didn't get the instructions for tomorrow, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, we have our morning service. In the afternoon at 1:30 is our in-person service in the parking lot, socially distanced with masks, and we will be blowing shofar and doing tashlich. So we really hope to see all of you at both of those events tomorrow. If you put all three of the services together, it makes one very beautiful Rosh Hashanah experience. Baruch atah Adonai, Makor HaChaim, Borei Pri Ha'etz. Blessed are you, source of life, who creates the fruit of the tree.
Amen. Amen.
Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu. Shetichadesh aleinu shana tova umetuka. May it be your will, Adonai, God of our ancestors, to renew for us a good and sweet new year.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
So I wanted to say an enormous thank you to everybody who helped to make this amazing High Holidays online possible. Some of them are here, some of them are not, but you all know who you are. And we are going to unmute you all. We've been doing this at our Friday night services. We're going to unmute you very briefly so that everybody all at once can say an enormous Shana Tova. It will be cacophony, but it will be good to hear everybody's voices.
Let's take a video away. So.
Shana Tova.
Shana
Tova.
Are we gonna finish